sometime soon, perhaps. What else? We have the next generation of the RAD dashboard. We have some ideas on how we could do that. So Nagan is going to talk a little bit about that. What else? A bunch of other stuff. So let's just jump in with the status updates. Begin with, and who would like to go first? Let's see who is here. Vi, would you like to talk about the Praise Forward?
Yeah. So the Brace Solve functionality has been talked about in the DAC for a while. So you might have seen that during meetings, especially during the community meeting, we like to do praise on call because it's like more humane to do it. It's like better, like kind of community building process that we follow. But one of the issues with that is that whenever someone tries transcribing the place on there, so usually transparency does that, IB does that, or sometimes Marmano, you see that there's a lot of inconsistency in our place data. So, if we're doing analysis over that data, we'd find that a lot of the praise comes from people involved in transcribing praise. And another issue is that there's no clear structural relationship between the giver and the receiver, which makes it more confusing for anyone quantifying the praise. So it makes us feel like there's a lot of duplicates. So this solves the problem by adding a new command to the Discord server /forward, and only certain people can use this command. That is, people that have the forwarder role inside our praise system. So we added a new role to the praise system. Normal users, quantifiers, uh, admins, and then there's forwarders. Uh, it might be refined later on into something else. Maybe we want more transparency, involvement inside the play system, but for now it's forwarders. And yeah, this command is usable, and if we deploy the bot sometime soon, people should be able to use that command. I think some UI changes have also been done. I mean, they're probably not merged yet, but yeah, it would also be visually different in our UI on the Braze dashboard. And the second update is uh, admin announce, which is the command that allows admins to send uh, messages to multiple people inside the server based on their praise roles. So currently it just supports 4 categories. One is normal praise activated users. Second category is all the quantifiers. Third category is all the crafted quantifiers in a specific period. And the fourth category is all the pending quantifiers in a specific period. This would make it a lot more easier for anyone who's phasing down quantifiers to remind them about their quantification, and for like other purposes, just giving them notification about whether they're drafted or not. And this is currently done via Discord. Maybe in future there might be some kind of buttons inside our Praise dashboard, or the Praise admin dashboard, maybe in future. But for now, it's a Discord command. And that's pretty much it for this week. I mean, the next week, I'm planning on making refactors to the code and cleaning up some things. And besides that, that's it. I'll pass it to Navin, maybe,
Thank you.
or
Maybe I
do you want?
can jump in and add something to what you said. I'd like to show what you see on my screen, so just so you know how this will look when it's launched. And do you think that we can, my hopes are that we can launch this feature tomorrow on the production server? Do you think that it's good to go, or right?
What needs to be explained?
Sorry?
Does anything need to be? What needs to be explained? Like, is there anything changed on the UI that?
Yeah,
needs
there's
explaining?
a small detail. You see it on my screen now. And in front of the username, there will be a small icon, a small forward symbol, and you hover over that symbol, and a small tooltip will appear saying like this was forwarded by, in this case, the same person, just because I've been testing it like that.
Okay, and
So
then the
then
name that actually appears outside of the hover tooltip is the actual praise giver.
yes, and the praise forwarder is not really interesting. It is only, for transparency purposes. You might want to look up that once in a while. So we won't be placing much focus on adding that as in a cool way to the UI. But that little symbol, and if you go to a praise detail page, that information also, of course, also will be there. The praise score, the praise ID, and then forwarded by whoever forwarded the praise. So that's it. But hopefully we will get this the new bot and this command online by tomorrow, unless Vio says it's not doable.
I think it's doable. Should we like demo the admin announce feature as well? Or
Yeah,
maybe
if possible, if you have it on your screen. I don't have it here locally.
maybe we can do that towards the end, and everyone can after everyone's done with their sync.
Yep. Okay, then we'll move on to the next. We'll stick with praise for now, and I'll pass it to Matti if you have something to say about overriding settings for periods.
Yeah, I can just say that it should be ready for review, and then either today or tomorrow. And yeah, I think that's all I need to say for this call.
And the UI there will be quite simply adding to this new sub-menu on the period detail page. There will be another tab saying settings, and this the right-hand side will you can change the settings for that specific period.
Yep, exactly. And the one other thing is we're just going to keep the settings visible for non-admins. So it'll just look like a form, but they can't actually do anything on it. It'll be like grayed out.
Great. No, that's good for transparency. Okay. What next? We have the RAD dashboard, the next iteration of or quite a major iteration of the RAD dashboard that we would like to do, at least. Nagam, would you care to say something about that?
Sure. I was trying to set up a screen to share, but I'm having issues. So if you can open your Miro board, that would be nice, Christopher, since you made it anyway. Yeah. So the RAD dashboard is growing a bit in scope, and we're having this idea of making it something more modular, like not just this little tool for the TC to kind of help out a bit during the process, but like really as a standalone product, which is intended to help other DAOs with other distribution methods to just kind of plug in their own reward systems and have a set of tools for distribution and analysis right on hand. And and that's kind of the new scope we are trying, and we're going to do this through Jupyter Notebooks still, but on a more modular way. So if you can zoom in there, we'd have like several little individual notebooks which are linked to one another, so you can export them and change them out to adapt your needs. So you could kind of just configure your own params for your reward system and feed them into this process, and at the end you'd have just a different set of analytics and the output distribution lists. And that's the plan. I've been playing around this week with some little prototypes, and I think it's doable, and it's going to make a lot of stuff a lot easier. Yeah, so I'm actually pretty excited, and I think if we do it modular enough, we can also convince like people from Coordinate or whatever to kind of integrate that easily, because at the end of the day, a lot of the people use Jupyter notebooks, and it's not really hard to make one. So if you have this infrastructure where you can just swap out different things, I think it will add a lot of value to a lot of people. So that's the plan.
Yeah, I wanted to make this this illustration before, but I didn't have time. So showing that the RAD dashboard is sort of where all the reward systems meet, and we make it super modular so that we can the new RAD dashboard can import data from any reward system. And one thing I'd like to add to what you said is the importance of we build up a library of small Python-based modules, and there are importers, exporters, distribution modules. What else did we say? Like sources, distributions, exports, and thereby allowing token engineers and other communities to just add their modules, whichever modules they like for their specific needs. So basically, to take the modules you need, combine them into your own RAD dashboard for the needs you have. And we can also, the export modules, we can also use not only for doing token-based exports, like exporting the analysis and the distribution to be sent to disperse.app or to be sent to an Aragon DAO. We can also have an export module that produces a data set that can be used to mint a reputation token. Or you export the analysis from your reward system to be used in any way, whether it being to send out a token, produce a reputation, or whatever. I think it's could be a really fun project. I think we need to give it some consideration how we will move forward. If we need to do, I saw the fancy proposals that have been made for the proposal inverter. Securing funds that way. We might need to do something similar for the next generation RAD project, especially if we like other communities to be involved in the development of the actual modules.
Yeah, sure.
No, but that's super exciting. And we also you won't be looking at this alone, won't you?
No, Jiwei is going to join. I think she couldn't come today. I don't see her here, but she's joining the squad. She's a data analyst, and like she really knows her stuff. So I'm really excited to see what she can come up with. So let's hope she can join us next week and introduce herself. But it's yeah, I'm very excited. I think this is going to be something cool.
Yeah.
And,
because it's yeah.
Sorry,
please.
yeah, no, it's kind of just sprang up because I just saw the email from me. I think Livia opened an issue about this showing quant with high spread. I actually implemented that in the dashboard last week. So if you run the dashboard, you can have it just generates a table with more controversial quants. So for the next session tomorrow, we can actually go ahead and use that to pinpoint the quants with the highest disagreement and save some time there.
Nice.
Wow, amazing. You developed something quicker than I made an issue for.
And that is the thing with this new setup, that when adding new modules, it's not one notebook that becomes bigger and bigger and more sluggish for each module you add, because that happens quite quickly with the Jupyter notebooks, in my experience at least. Instead, you're adding a new module to a library that a community can use if they need it, and they can turn it on for a specific analysis and then turn it off again. And so it's going to be great fun to explore this.
Yeah. Also, one thing, the beauty of this is by having different notebooks that are specialized in different aspects of the same data set, you can at the end of the process export them without all the code, just the graphs and a bit of text, and can just generate automatically like 4 or 5 different reports focusing on different aspects without having to run it yourself and cut out the stuff. So there's a lot of flexibility there.
Nice.
So, ahead of tomorrow's call, how do I get this and run it, and then like find these things that you're talking about, like the discrepancies?
Well, there should be a button called My Binder on the README in the repo.
So in this case,
And
you should find it here, huh? I can try to bring it up if that's
Yeah.
possible.
In the TC rewards repo, just fork it.
You don't
Yeah,
need to
run
fork
it
it. You can
locally.
just you don't need to run it locally even. You can just go to the repo on GitHub and push the launch binder icon, and in the best of worlds, it launches. Sometimes it has sort of got stuck in this boot process. But then, of course, you need the what is not here yet in the repo is of course the data for round 4, because it's not closed yet. And when you have closed the round, I can let me know when you have closed the round, and I will run the data through this spreadsheet so that it gets the extra columns. Because if it doesn't have the extra columns right now, the dashboard won't work.
Okay. So something manual has to happen once we close the round. You need to put the data in. Okay.
Yeah, and that is a discussion point for later in this meeting, or right now, if it's not a big one. If we have given up on the idea of actually tweaking and adjusting the quantifications during the quant session, then we could use the raw format exported from the Praise dashboard. Of course, then we don't need these extra columns that will allow us to make the manual changes. Then we can remove that whole manual step, and then we could, in theory, allow the next generation RAD dashboard to import data directly from the Praise system through the API without us, having to push it to GitHub first, etc.
I'm a big supporter of that. I don't think we should change the values.
We have like 1,400 Praise in a month currently. So that is way too much to go through in an hour. We will have half that amount once we get the regular schedule running, but that is still quite a large amount of Praise.
Okay, first question. Where are these extra columns that you're talking about? In the data?
No, they're
It's just in the CSV file.
Just the regular spreadsheet.
Yeah, so what I do is I take the CSV file, export it by Praise, and then I push it into this Google spreadsheet where I have these 4 extra columns.
Oh God.
And then so here we can make the corrections. We can add 100, and then it should be 104 there in the end for some reason, and make a comment here like.
Okay, because this didn't show up at all when I was exporting the sheets.
No, this is a sheet that I have shared with you before, but this is a totally separate sheet. So the process to make this work currently is that you take the exported file from the Praise system. You create a new tab in this sheet. You import the Praise data, and you copy these columns from this sheet in there. So it's a sort of a manual process.
Yeah. Okay. I think in general, I think Louis got the right of it, where it was just really ineffective to go and change all these scores. But what if there's a reason that we need to, if somebody just refuses to participate and just gives the maximum score, gives zeros for everything. At least like removing that data set or doing something like that, or do we leave it?
Maybe limit the editing to like completely removing like what's essentially spam. Like you're basically describing someone spamming the system. So maybe just like a yes no, like an ability to completely remove all of a quantifier's quantifications.
Yeah, and so then we take an average. We take the average from a smaller set instead.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so then
But-
this maybe kind of goes into the next point of like we kind of said like, okay, quantifiers that don't finish, we'll just take like a bigger average, like take 4 quantifiers per praise instead of 3. But then on the sheet, and correct me if I'm wrong, but it shows up as 0 if they didn't quantify it. And so
No, if they didn't quantify, it's not added to the average.
okay.
Uh,
All right, because I was exporting the sheet like earlier in the quant, and everything was showing up as zeros. So just wanted to make sure.
Yeah, it shows up as zeros, but it should not be. I think we went through that last time, and
Okay.
it should not be included in the average. Let's see if we have.
Mm,
Yeah, no, this round 1. Did everyone finish? Has everyone finished everything? Then we don't know.
yeah. Okay.
Yeah, but the idea at least is that if 2 persons give a praise score, let's take a simple number. You have 2 8s, and then you have a missing a missing quantification. Then the average for that praise should be 8 plus 8 divided by 2, not by 3, because the missing quant is not counted. Because otherwise, a missing quant would lead to pushing the average score down quite radically.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I forgot that stuff, and since it's just like raw values in the sheet, there's no algorithms that I can see. It was like hard to understand, but okay, that's cool.
Hey, Nugget, in this thing that you set up, can you also see, can the bot also capture sprays that were dismissed?
I think yes. I'd have to check, but actually, if dismissed praise gets just a 0, right? So it would just see that somebody put it as 0 and somebody put it as 89. So that's a big discrepancy. So it should show up in the list. Yes.
Yeah, and
Okay.
the dismissed also has the signal in the dismissed column. There's a true or false as well.
Okay, yeah. Just the way we were looking, we didn't have that column open.
Yeah.
But that would be good to be signaled by the bot also, because some of the praises that were dismissed shouldn't have been.
Yeah.
I thought
I can
about
look into
this.
that.
Yeah, sorry.
No, it's okay. Go ahead. I'll look into it.
We currently have a script that allows us to switch a quantifier for another. It's a script. It's not a button in the UI, and I thought that maybe that is a good thing for now, because that creates some kind of threshold. It produces some kind of friction to use that. It's not super simple to use it. And maybe removing quantifiers completely could be on the same level just now that we create a script to remove quantifiers completely, and then we if needed we can run that script for a praise period, but we won't build it and make it a UI feature for now. Sounds okay?
Yeah, I think that's a good compromise. Yes.
Cool. And then it sounds like we agreed to say that we don't need the manual correction anymore because the amount of data is too big to be able to finish that anyway. So that's fantastic, I think, because it cuts away a clunky manual step. Nice. So if we are done with the RAD ideas, then perhaps we'll move on to quantifications. I'll pass it to Mitch. And you're muted.
There we go. Let's try this now. Yeah, there's a couple of delinquents, but whatever. I guess we'll leave it as is. And what was I gonna say? Yeah, reached out to a couple people, like kind of just going on the path of, instead of making manual quantifications, just like find the ones that are out of whack and maybe just like talk to a couple quantifiers. And the big thing is like finding the trends and then finding where the gaps are in like our onboarding. So, I mean, trying to figure out the best way to make sure people have all the information. So with that, I updated pretty much all of the reward system documentation to have like better information. I'll close the quant at the end of today. I'll open up the new quant on Friday. At the same time, we'll set up the schedule for doing the review session. And I think the review session this week is scheduled for sometime early tomorrow for quant 4. So I think business as usual. We just need to fix our onboarding and make it better, and maybe figure out some requirements, like making people come to calls or something. But it's just like, it's super hard because like it's like 25 plus people, and having new people join at a time that convenes for everybody is really difficult.
Yeah.
So, and we need people, like we need so many people, like we're maxing it out right now.
And would you say have the workload, the cat herding workload decreased somewhat when we made it 4 quantifiers? It seems like everyone finishes now, mostly, except like 1 or 2.
I don't know if the settings got reset or something, but I was looking and it was only like, I could only see 3 quantifiers per praise, but I could be wrong.
On this 4th period.
Yeah, in the 4th period, I don't know. I was looking at the info like really early on, and I only saw like 3 praise per quantifier. Yeah. Anyway, let me verify that. But yeah, if we were at 4 praise per quantifier, I don't think we would have had enough people in the pool. Let's have a look here. Um, 2 quantifier 3. Yeah, there's only 3.
I'm not following. I'm looking. The thing I'm sharing on my screen now is period 4. It's 4 quantifiers.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
I just exported the data, and
Yeah, the export doesn't work.
Oh,
It should work. No, yeah, that is tied to this. That is why we need the settings tied to periods, and there might be issues with the export. It might be hard coded for 3 quantifiers.
But then when we did it the week before, it showed up with 4 quantifiers. So it's like
In the export.
in the export, you know.
It's got to be basing it on whatever the settings are at the time you exported it. So the per period settings should resolve that, but I can double check.
Yeah, it should be based on the global setting now, I think. So, and the global settings should be 4. So it sounds weird if the global setting is 4.
Yeah.
That is weird. If that is the case, then
Yeah, you can check it out. But yeah, I did this just now on the call,
Mhm.
and it shows up with 3 quantifiers.
okay.
Anyway, so yeah, I guess just we'll continue with what we've been doing. It seems to be mostly successful. I can't wait to have a bot command to DM everybody at once.
Perhaps
It'd be
tomorrow.
So sweet. Great. Cool. Yeah,
I
that's
have
it for. Go ahead, Libby.
Yeah, I have some notes on the quant too. So we had this tweak session last week and it was great. There was a lot of good suggestions and most of them were about the duplicate praises. So I created an issue trying to find.
Mm-hmm.
1 second. Sure. So yeah, most of the comments, it was how it was time consuming and confusing to mark the duplicates. So there was some thoughts on if we could standardize the process somehow. Someone suggested we have a checkbox to mark multiple duplicates at once or to have a keyword search. So when you
Yeah.
see that there is a word for a certain praise coming up a lot, you could just use that
Like
to find
joining,
all of them. Hmm?
like joining the keyword often coming up.
Yeah, like joining, you could find them all, then see just all of the potential duplicates all beside each other.
Mm.
So you could potentially mark them all together if they belong to the same duplicate set or not.
It's not a super simple UI thing to do. Most often when you do actions that affect many records or many rows, it's the same action that affects all the rows. Like you mark a number of email and then you delete them all. In this case, you mark first one item and then you mark some other items and saying like these items are going to be duplicates of the first item. And that is a bit more difficult UI thing to do in a good way. But I think we at least in my head, it has started bubbling about doing some kind of toolbar that follows you when you scroll up and down the page. That can allow you to do like navigate between the pages more easily, so you don't have to scroll all the way down to the bottom to navigate to the next page. That could be one thing. Marking, conducting actions on more than one item. So it could be marking a number of praise items and marking them as dismissed as well. And the third thing would be finding a nice, a smart way to do marking duplicates. So we wouldn't have to show these.
That I made?
Sorry?
The wireframes that I made?
Yeah, inspired by those. That's what I said. Let's work on those and try to add these other things I said, and make it into like a table toolbar that
Like a
goes.
fixed header. Just
Sorry?
follows you. Like a fixed nav bar that just kind of follows you on the page. Yeah.
Exactly.
I have a question about duplication, and this is from a data point of view. Do we want duplicates to only be praise that is sent to the same person by different givers? For functionally, what's the same thing? Do we mark it as duplicate, or do we want only like accidentally sent? Sorry, let me repeat that. Or do we want praise that has been sent by the same user to the same user as a duplicate? This essentially like if it's multiple people praising the same person for the same thing. I wouldn't call that a duplicate. Maybe we can rename that because duplicate. It's not duplicate if it's coming from two different givers, even if it's for the same thing.
Currently, that is the definition we have made. Is that is a duplicate. So that would represent quite a big shift, and trying to call that something else. What
Alright,
would
then
it be
that clears it
called?
up.
What would it be instead? Or
Similar praise that can be grouped together, because there's like two functionally different groups. One is praise that is sent twice for the same thing by the same person, and then there's duplicate praise that is marked because there's two different givers praising the person for the same thing. So we might want to distinct the quantification mechanism for both these processes, because in one case we might want to dismiss the other praise and quantify the only one praise, and in the other we want to give it weight. So I don't
Yeah.
know, it could be harder to navigate.
We're
my guess
talking
is
about
that
two different. Go ahead, Crispin.
no, that most likely these completely identical praise from the same giver will stop exist once we start using the new bot. Hopefully.
Yeah, I think
Yes.
also we're talking about two different values. One of them is the value of the action, and the other was the value of the gratitude. So when you're saying that the same action being praised by multiple different people should not be considered duplicate, you're talking about the value of the gratitude, like what each person felt was different than the action that happened. And then when we're saying that praises are duplicate, even if they are praised by multiple different people, we're talking about the task itself, like what was performed. So one, the value is in the praised, and the other, the value is in the person being praised, and the one who's praising the one being praised. And I think with what we have now, we're addressing both of them. So when different people praise one person for the same thing, we're giving the value of the gratitude, but just a percentage to it. And we are putting most of the value on the action itself. But then if we don't do that, we would be missing out on the value of the people who give gratitude, or that would be, I think that would be confusing for whoever is quantifying. Did that make sense? Kind of
Yeah,
confusing.
actually,
Yeah, that does make sense. I think maybe we could make some kind of quantifiers guide. I don't know if that already exists, and mentioned like the nuances of the settings. Because like there's likelihood that some people who are quantifying might not have their primary language as like English, so there can be some context lost between the options. But maybe some guide would be helpful.
There was one suggestion I think you gave, Vi, that I also took a note here. That is adjusting praise based on impact. So for example, increase praise reference value if 10 different people praise the same thing versus one person praising multiple times, or just one or two people praising that one thing. So this could be different values should be integrated. I don't know how difficult is this. It would give more
Quadratic praise.
granularity.
it's always we have sort of touched on this a little bit before about categorization and that kind of stuff as well. And it's of course super interesting to add additional data layers to this quite simple data stream we have. But it's also, it comes with trade-offs, and it's a really fine balance there on making the quantification potentially more complex, making it more difficult to find quantifiers. It takes longer time, etc. And but I think definitely once we have like launched version 1 of the current feature set, because now we're not, we're adding new features, but we are sort of adding features that support the current features to make them more make what we have more smooth to use, and this would more represent a totally new feature and addition to the data sets. But I do think we should really do a good brainstorming session and really talk about, and integrate the findings from research, etc., to plan the sort of the long-term roadmap and future features once we are done with the first version.
Yeah. Sorry to take too long on this. I just wanted us to understand what is the main problem, and I don't know if that was clear. The main problem with the duplicate praises now, when we were looking at different values that people gave, were which one to consider the baseline duplicate. Like there was some praises that had so many duplicates that people would choose different baselines for which one they would mark as the reference. And then that pollutes the data. Like that would come up in the analysis as something not
that
so
shouldn't
clear.
affect the final score. Whichever baseline praise you choose, if you're for different quantifiers and there's a bunch of similar praise, it shouldn't affect the total average score in the end, which baseline you choose. But of course, it makes the data more noisy, that people haven't seen that this is the original praise and these were the duplicates, and because oftentimes that is completely impossible to know. And I notice myself that sometimes I go through the list from top down, and there's other times I go from bottom up, and then of course it's the first you run into. And I think we need to move on actually to get to the end. This is a super interesting conversation. But maybe bridging over to reward board stuff and finishing on round 5 thing. It seems like we have agreement from the reward board that we will try to quantify the next round without pseudonyms, and see how that feels with real username and real icons. It was almost unanimous. Is that how you say it? Unanimous.
Nail it.
Yeah. And other reward board stuff, we need to think. We need to make a plan for the first token payout for round 1 beginning of round 1, of course, and if that is not next week or in next month, and waiting for the source cred params was a blocker, and waiting for source cred, how we could make the source cred grain distributions. We waited for that up until the point when we finally realized that we cannot make a grain distribution for each in a similar fashion like we do the retroactive praise quantification. That is technically impossible to do with source creds. We will either have to do like 1 mega source cred distribution for the whole period from basically from now back until July of last year, or we decide to ignore all that has happened on source cred up until a certain point, and we start with a smaller first grain distribution. So that might be something to discuss with the broader community. I don't know what you say. Do you have any ideas about this or opinions?
Yeah, I think especially thinking of the chart you shared. If it's going to be that big of a difference, we should consult the community about what we do with SourceGrid. Like if the difference was between like $2,000 and $20,000, something like that. So I think that's definitely something that should be asked.
Yeah. Let's see. I can just see if I can find those two. Is this readable? So the first option, these two tables list all the rewards rounds from around 1 July up until May, where we'll be roughly back to present day. And so these are present two alternatives, knowing that we will not have source credit data for all these periods when we close down the rewards rounds. So how do we handle this situation? In the first alternative, we allocate a number of DAI per period according to the amount that we in the reward board have discussed. And this amount we will also present to the community for advice. I think we agreed on that. And in this first scenario, we instead of paying out funds for source cred contributions that we don't know about, we allocate all the funds towards praise instead. So 100% to praise, 0% to source cred, which means, and we do that up until the point where we have a source cred grain distribution, which will be in this case in May. And then we start doing the split that we have discussed, which is 75 towards praise and 25 towards source cred. And that means source cred then gets that 25% of the allocated amount for that period when we first integrate source cred as well. The other option is to instead say, no, we will do one big source cred distribution. The first one will be a big distribution where we include all contributions from May this year back all the way to July last year. And during the process from now or from July last year to May, we will save a chunk of each rewards round and earmark that for this first mega grain distribution, and then that becomes 10 times more because it's saved from 10 rounds. So those are two options. I could imagine that there could be other options as well, and there's also a decision to be made if we are going to start with a small grain distribution or if we should start with a grain distribution that looks on all contributions back to last summer, or we can also choose to look at all contributions made from the beginning of time. Basically from when we first set up the GitHub repositories and from when we first started the Discourse server. But that is just I'm not starting the discussion now because that is a big discussion. I just want to let everyone know that this is something we in the reward board are discussing, and we will present a proposal to the community like this is the idea, and seek advice about that before we plan for the first payout. Is there anything more to add to that, Livia or Mitch or Nagan or Vi, who is Septi? We are almost the full reward board here. So
yeah, I'm just looking at the points below because it seems like we want to get some rewards out to the people. And so apart from this, like, have we resolved any of the other issues after that?
Other issues such as
like people who haven't activated, like having a ways that they like we still have those funds earmarked for them when they do activate.
Yeah, that's nothing. It's quite complex, but it's no, but it's not. It's not. Sorry. Yeah, it's a headache, but it's not a decision we need to make. We just need to come up with a structure to keep track of that. And I think we can use GitHub for that, because GitHub is semi secure in that way that you cannot make changes without those changes being registered, and you cannot easily hack the system without some. It's traceable.
Being a paper trail.
Yeah, so I think we can place data files in the actual reward rounds folders in the TEC rewards repository, saying how much we have paid out, and then we can make a script that sort of adds that stuff together to find out who have tokens left to be paid out if you have activated your account. I think we can solve it that way. Fairly simple.
All I'm just saying is that would be a blocker for doing a first distribution as well.
Yeah, not for the first, but for the second, because that is when we need to start thinking about the those that have activated since the last period. In the first period, it's either you're activated or not. It's as simple as that. If you're activated, you get paid. If not, you don't.
For the first round.
Yeah, for the first round.
Praised, if they haven't activated yet.
They won't. No, but they could get for the next round and for the. So what I meant, when we do the second payout, we need to. It's a more complicated equation.
Okay.
It's easy for the first round. We have the list of these are the people that should get tokens. These are the people who got tokens, and we just need to compare those two lists to see who still has a claim, sort of. But for the second round, it's an additional layer.
Mm-hmm.
I have one question. It's about the new praise bot. Does the new praise bot store the ETH address, like the one going live tomorrow in the onboarding? Does it already ask? Because if people are going to onboard again, maybe that's a good chance to get a lot of ETH addresses.
Yes, so the onboarding will be mostly like now the new praise bot is launched. Start using that, and the first thing you should do is to do praise activate. So you connect your Ethereum address, so you're sure to get your rewards paid out.
So we can expect that we will be able to backfill a lot of the data in the coming week.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
So yeah, let's aim for having like a 90% coverage or something in the first praise round of actually having the Ethereum addresses for everyone. We could also do some manual work of pinging people, and I guess that could be a thing for this admin announce feature that Vi is working on as well. Send a message to all the users that have not activated their accounts.
Yeah, definitely. I'm actually thinking about making the options available to it more diverse. Like it will be a complete menu. So I think we only have 3 minutes. I'll just quickly demo what it looks like. So the command is admin announce, and you can just type a message. So it just gives you a small preview and can confirm or cancel. This part can be maybe removed in future. So right now it only has 4 options. Sending DM to all activated page users. So this below this can also have like an option saying like all sending DMs to all unactivated page users. Quantifiers, all drafted quantifiers. So it takes a couple of seconds to send out the messages, but yeah, this is broken right now because this is running on a test database where we don't have valid Discord IDs. But yeah, this would work, and especially for Mitch, there's also you were looking for while the pending quantifier is one. Yeah, and you can select which period you want to send it from. And this will send out messages to whoever's left. So that should probably make your life easier.
Great, I love it. Tell me when it's on
Nice.
production.
That is a super great feature. Nice work, Vi.
Yeah, so
Why do you want to present that? Oh, sorry.
yeah,
Can I
go on.
ask if you want to present that tomorrow in the community call?
If
The
it's
new
merged
box?
in, yeah. However, I feel like
I've got a hard stop, guys. I'll catch up with you, okay?
Take care.